Akusala Sangaha find material or immaterial realms. As such, non-returners are still attached to this existence. A being may practice samatha meditation and gain jhana. It's easy to feel very satisfied by jhana and get attached to it. As such, they might think, when I die, I won't have to be reborn as a human being again. I won't have to be reborn in heaven either. I will be reborn in a very peaceful realm that is higher than heaven. This is attachment to the rupa or arupa realms. So even non-returners still have this kind of latent defilement. What about the third type of latent defilement, patiganusaya, or hatred? A non-returner no longer has anger. If someone claims to have reached the third stage of enlightenment but still has anger or hatred, they're not actually at that level. No matter what someone does to a non-returner, no anger will occur in his mind. This is because a non-returner has eradicated patiganusaya, or hatred. What about pride, or mananusaya? Even a non-returner still has this. As for the fifth and sixth types of latent defilements, stream entry has already eradicated these. But a non-returner still has avijjanusaya, or ignorance. They still have moha. See, he still has attachment to the Brahma realms, believing that to be a happy life. This attachment is due to ignorance. The Buddha said that wherever we are born, there will be suffering. But we fail to understand this because of our ignorance. Ignorance does not understand the truth. A non-returner still has some ignorance remaining. I would like all of you to know that a stream enterer eradicates the fifth and sixth types, false views and doubt. A non-returner eradicates attachment to sensual pleasure and hatred, and an arahant eradicates the remaining latent defilements. What about ordinary worldlings? We have all 7, right? Yes, we've been talking about anusaya, Saṃyojana, and now we go to Saṃyojana. There are 10 of these Saṃyojana, which we can call fetters. These Saṃyojana mean that they bind beings to the round of existence. It binds beings from this present life to the next life. This is Saṃyojana. We have 2 methods that we can use to talk about Saṃyojana. The first one looks at the 10 Saṃyojana by the Suttanta method. We have 3 kinds of teachings of the Buddha, right? We have the Suttanta 51 Las Vegas Sayadaw discourses, the Vinaya discipline, and the Abhidhamma highest teaching. By exploring the 2 methods, we can see how the realities differ a bit. What are the 10 kinds of fetters? 1. Kamaraga Saṃyojana. It's the same as the first anusaya, right? It's attachment to sensual pleasure. They are different in name and nature, but they share the same reality. See, the Buddha thought of many ways to help people understand what he was trying to teach. With some people, he explained this in terms of anusaya, while he explained it in terms of Saṃyojana with others. So, according to the Suttanta method, we have these 10 fetters. The first is attachment to sensual pleasure. 2. Ruparaga Saṃyojana. We studied the 31 planes of existence, right? This fetter is attachment to rupa realms, or rupa jhana. How many rupa jhanas do we have? Among the 31 planes of existence, we have 4 woeful states: the human realm, 6 celestial realms, 16 rupa realms, and 4 arupa realms. Although there are 16 rupa realms, one is for mindless beings. Beings of the other 15 rupa realms have both mind and matter. Beings of the 4 immaterial or arupa realms have mind but no matter. Here, Ruparaga Saṃyojana is attachment to the rupa realm, or the realm of form. 3. A.R. Uparaga Saṃyojana. This is attachment to the arupa realm, or formless realm. See the difference? Can you see how the realities are the same, though? What are they? Lobha, craving or attachment. A non-returner has no Kamaraga Saṃyojana, but still has attachment to Ruparaga and Aruparaga, They are still attached to these Saṃyojanas. 4. Patigha Saṃyojana. This is hatred. It is dosa. 5. Manasaṃyojana. Pride. 52. Akusala Sangaha 6. Ditthi Saṃyojana. False views. 7. See Labhata Parama Sasamyojana. This is usually translated as adherence to rites and ceremonies. This isn't quite right, though. Fortunately, the commentaries explained what this term means. It specifically has to do with wrong views regarding practicing like an ox or a dog, believing that such practice will lead to enlightenment or a rebirth in heaven after death. So silabhata means wrong view about habits and exercise the way of practice. Perhaps we don't see this so much nowadays, but a lot of people practiced like this in the time of the Buddha. They did this because they thought it would lead to enlightenment or a heavenly rebirth. Q. Is that like practicing austerities? Like people in India holding their arms up in the air for years at a time? No, that's mortification. Silabhata doesn't mean mortification. It refers to bovine or canine conduct. They might walk around on 4 limbs like a cow or use their tongue to lap up food like a dog. This is Saṃyojana Parama Saṃyojana. Q. What about people who think that certain rituals will lead to enlightenment? Is that the same? No, not the same. The scriptures specifically define what I'm talking about as practicing like a canine or a bovine. Other false ways of practice fall under false views. Every society or religion has ceremonies, right? We chant every day, don't we? That's a ritual. But it's not Labhata Parama Saṃyojana. The commentaries explained what this term refers to. It refers to practicing like a dog or a cow. That's how it's defined. 8. Vichikicha Saṃyojana. Doubt. 9. Udika Saṃyojana. Restlessness. 10. Avidya Saṃyojana. Ignorance. There are these 10 Saṃyojana, but there are only 7 realities. This is by the Suttanta method. What are the 7 realities? The first, second, and third kinds of Saṃyojana imply craving, or lobha. That's one reality. The 6th and 53 Las Vegas Sayadaw 7th are ditthi. That's another reality. This is why there are altogether 7 realities, according to the Suttanta method of evaluating Saṃyojana. What are the 7 realities? Lobha, dosa, mana, ditthi, vichikicha, uddhacca, and moha. The second method is the Abhidhamma method, wherein we have 8 realities among 10 Saṃyojana. How are the 2 methods different? 1. Kamadaga Saṃyojana, attachment to sensual pleasure. This is the same, right? 2. Bhavaraga Saṃyojana, this is attachment to existence. The Suttanta method breaks this into 2 Saṃyojana, rupa and arupa. Here, bhavaraga means attachment to rupa and arupa. 3. Patigha Saṃyojana. 4. Manasaṃyojana. 5. Ditthi Saṃyojana. 6. Labhata Parama Saṃyojana. 7. Vichikicha Saṃyojana. These are all the same. 8. Issa Saṃyojana. Envy. This one is different, right? It means jealousy. It's one kind of Saṃyojana. 9. Macharya Saṃyojana. Avarice, or stinginess. 10. Avidya Saṃyojana. Ignorance. When we look at the realities, the first and second are lobha, the third is dosa, the fourth is mana, the fifth and sixth are ditthi, the seventh is doubt, and the eighth is also a mental state, right? Senite. And the eighth is also a mental state, right? Do you remember which one? Jealousy arises when we have unwholesome consciousness rooted in ill will, or dosa. 54 Akusala Sangaha Q. So the 2 methods are the Suttanta and Abhidhamma methods. Is it because they have different views? Yes, these are the 2 methods, but they don't have 2 different views. The methods are just a little different. I'll explain. What is different? For Suttanta, there are 7 realities. For Abhidhamma, there are 8 realities. What is the different one? The Sutanta method doesn't recognize the 8th or 9 Saṃyojanas, no Isa, and no Makarya of the Abhidhamma method. Although the Sutanta method still has dosa, we don't find these two listed as Saṃyojana. And the 9th Saṃyojana of the Sutanta method Uddaka can't be found in the Abhidhamma method. That's the only difference. If we combine these two methods, how many essential realities are there? Only 9. What are they? According to Abhidhamma, there are 8. If you add Uddaka from the Sutanta method, that's a total of 9 realities. Please remember that there are 7 realities according to the Sutanta method and 8 realities according to the Abhidhamma method. When we combine them, it becomes 9 realities. What are they? Lobha, dosa, mana, ditthi, vichikicha, udhaksha, moha, isa, and makarya. That's 9. For the Sutanta method, udhaksha is different, and isa and makarya are different for the Abhidhamma method. This is Saṃyojana. It binds beings to the round of existence. Even if you're reborn in a higher plane, such as the highest realm, the Arupa realm, if you are still an ordinary worldling, this Saṃyojana will bind you and force you to be reborn later in the human or celestial worlds. And from the human or celestial worlds, that very binding can pull a being down to a woeful state. See that? Why does it pull a being down like this? Why do Saṃyojanas bind beings to the round of existence? You cannot escape from the field of existence, these 31 planes of existence. Why? Because of Saṃyojana. They bind you. I'll give you some examples. Even if you want to do good things. For example, go to the temple, to a meditation center, to do chanting, to go on a silent retreat, to gain jhana, or enlightenment. This Saṃyojana binds you like a string, as a rope tied to a dog's neck binds the dog to the backyard. Even if the dog wants to go somewhere, the rope tied to its neck keeps pulling him back. He can only keep walking in circles. He can't leave the circle. 55 Las Vegas Sayadaw. In the same way, even if we want to go out from this world, we can't. Why? Because of these 10 Saṃyojana. These 9 realities: craving, hatred, delusion, pride, wrong view, doubt, stinginess, envy, and restlessness pull us back. As such, we have to die and be reborn again and again and again. We can't get away from this field of existence because of these Saṃyojanas. Let's look at Kamaraga Saṃyojana for some examples of how this works. Maybe you want to go to a meditation center to practice meditation. But what tends to happen? I don't have time to go because I need to work and take care of my house. This is because of your attachment to sensual pleasures. See? You're attached to your house, your job, your belongings. You're attached to your hobbies too. You don't do good things because you'd rather spend time focusing on your hobbies, right? Perhaps you're attached to eating too. You might think, when I go to the meditation center, I might have to eat vegetarian food. I don't like vegetarian food. Or maybe you're attached to the place where you normally sleep. If I go to the meditation center, I might have to share a room with someone else. I want my own room. What about your clothing? I wish I could wear my own clothes when I go for a retreat. I don't like wearing the traditional uniform. Or how about this? If I go to the meditation center, I'll miss my favorite TV show on Wednesday. You're attached to sights and sounds, right? You're attached to touches, tastes, and smells, too. This is attachment to sensual pleasures. This attachment prevents you from moving about with freedom. These are examples of Kamaraga Saṃyojana. They pull on you and don't let you go, and even if you do go, you might get pulled right back again very soon. See this? These are examples. You can think of each of these Saṃyojanas one by one and come up with your own examples. By doing so, you can see how they bind beings to the round of existence. Even someone practicing meditation and gaining jhana can find themselves attached to their jhana. That attachment prevents them from wanting to practice insight meditation, which is what can allow us to escape from all existence. Instead, these attached meditators think, oh, I'm so peaceful. They're very satisfied by their Saṃyojana. They think, I won't have to worry about my next life because I'll be reborn in a very peaceful 56 Akusala Sangaha Brahma realm. Can you see how they're attached to rebirth in a Brahma realm? They still have Ruparaga or Aruparaga, which is really just Lobha attachment. And later on, they'll have to come back to the human world. Can you see how they can't escape the world? This Raga, attachment, Lobha, craving, pulls you back. What about Patika Saṃyojana, or hatred? This is the opposite of metta, or loving kindness. Because you have dosa, or are unsatisfied with something, you go places and don't like the people, the place, or the food, right? Even if you go somewhere to practice meditation, you'll find reasons to complain about the place, the food, or the people. And then maybe you'll quit, right? This is hatred too. Or maybe you're unsatisfied with yourself, which is also a kind of patiga, or hatred. This dosa will not let you go out from this world. There's also mana, or pride, and ditthi, or false view. Maybe you think, I'm going to do whatever I want to do with my life because it won't matter once I'm dead. This is false view. If you're unconcerned about rebirth, then you won't bother doing anything good. Think about all this lobha, dosa, moha, mana, ditthi, vichikicha, isa, and avarice. These things bind you and pull you to be reborn again and again and again and again. We practice meditation for the purpose of getting rid of all these Saṃyojanas, step by step, little by little, one by one. Once we become an arahant, we will have eradicated all Saṃyojana. This is why an arahant will not have to be reborn again after he dies. Let's stop here for today. Thank you. Sadhu. 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 Cole, can I ask a question? When you were talking about how impermanence is suffering, are you including dukkha in that also? I mean, is anicca itself suffering? When a meditator sees impermanence, he also sees suffering. He will see anatta, selflessness too. He will see that everything is beyond our control. He will see one of these three characteristics. If he sees one, he will know the remaining two as well. Suffering to most people means, oh, I feel pain, I hurt. They just think of this as suffering. Everyone, even an animal, knows this kind of suffering. But the suffering that a meditator needs to understand is that whatever is oppressed by arising and disappearing is itself suffering. We call that suffering. 57 Las Vegas Sayadaw. Whenever we practice meditation, we will see vibration, shaking, arising, disappearing. Impermanence, right? This impermanence itself is what we call suffering. Q. So we include anatta and dukkha in that too. Yes, they are also suffering. Who likes suffering? No one likes it. But you can't control it. Even though you may want to have a steady and long-lasting pleasant experience, you have no control over that. It's anatta. It's the nature of mind and matter to just arise and disappear impermanence. This is their nature. So when we see impermanence, we see suffering. When we see suffering, we see impermanence. When we see impermanence and suffering, we see the lack of control. Q. When you were talking before about non-returners, do you mean that he doesn't come back to the earth? A non-returner cannot come back to the human or celestial worlds. It's not just the earth. He can't even return to heaven. These human and celestial worlds are called sensual realms. A non-returner cannot return to these. Q. Even though a non-returner is not yet an arahant, can he become an arahant in a higher realm? Oh, sure, yes. Someone who becomes a non-returner will be reborn in the rupa or arupa realms. From there, he will become an arahant. Q. Can he die in those upper realms and then be reborn in those upper realms? Or is there just that one existence in the upper realms? It depends. Let's look at the 5 pure abodes as an example. After he dies from the first level, he can't be reborn on the same level. He has to go higher. Or perhaps he gains arahant first. But if he doesn't become an arahant, he will go to the second realm. When a being reaches the topmost pure abode, he can't go to another realm. Instead, he must become an arahant. This is an excellent realm, right? 58 Akusala Sangaha. Today is January 24th, 1999. Last week, we discussed Saṃyojanas, fetters, according to the Suttanta method, and the Abhidhamma method. Today, I would like to talk about fetters a bit more. As I told you, Saṃyojanas bind beings to the round of existence. These 10 fetters do not allow beings to go beyond this world. By this world, I mean the 31 planes of existence. We have 2 levels of fetters, 2 groups of Saṃyojanas. We have lower fetters and higher fetters. Lower fetters bind beings to be reborn again and again in the lower states. This refers to the 4 woeful states, the human realm and the celestial realms. We call these the lower states. In contrast, the higher realms are the 20 Brahma realms. What are the lower fetters? 1. Kamaraga Saṃyojana, attachment to sensual pleasure. People are attached to sensual pleasure. They attach to visible objects, sounds, smells, tastes, and tangible objects. And they will do evil things based upon this attachment. In accordance with this attachment, when they commit these evil deeds after death, they have to be reborn in the lower realms. But even if we do something that is meritorious, like now, we practice generosity, perhaps observe 5 or 8 or even 10 precepts, we sit in meditation, and perhaps do some chanting. If we do these things because we hope to be reborn as a higher class human, or as an angel, this is attachment to the Kama realm, right? For that reason, a person who does this will have to be reborn again in the human or celestial realms. Again, in this context, we call these the lower realms. What about Ruparaga and Aruparaga attachment to the Rupa and Arupa realms? These are regarded as higher realms. For now, I'm talking about the lower fetters, though. 2. Patiga Saṃyojana, hatred. Your anger might cause you to kill someone, right? Some creature may die because you get angry. According to this evil action, you cannot go to heaven after you die. Instead, you go to a woeful state. This is why Hatred 59 Las Vegas Sayadaw is also called a lower fetter. It binds beings to be reborn in a lower existence. Mana is higher, right? 3. Ditthi Saṃyojana, false or wrong view. 4. Silabhata Parama Saṃyojana, adherence to rites and rituals. These 2 Saṃyojanas are wrong view. Those who do demeritorious things based upon these Saṃyojanas will be reborn in a woeful state. Even if they do meritorious things, their wrong view will cause them to be reborn in either the human or celestial realms, but these are still lower realms, right? That's why these 2 ditthi are also called lower fetters. 5. Vicikicca Saṃyojana, doubt. Doubt refers to vexation due to perplexed thinking. In other words, this is the inability to make a decision. This is when a person has doubts about karma or the consequences of karma. What does a person who doubts these things tend to do? Mostly demeritorious things, right? As such, after he dies, he cannot go beyond this world or to a higher plane. Mostly he will just be reborn in the woeful states. For these reasons, lobha, attachment, patiga, hatred, ditthi, wrong view, silabhata parama sasamyojana, also wrong view, and vicikicca, doubt. These 5 fetters are called lower fetters. I want you to remember that the 1st, 4th, 6th, 7th, and 8th fetters are called lower fetters. These 5 fetters will bind beings to the lower existences. Among the remaining 5 fetters, there is Ruparaga Saṃyojana, attachment to the realm of form, and Aruparaga Saṃyojana, attachment to the formless realm. Some people practice TRA, tranquility meditation, and gain Jhana. Because this Jhana is so satisfying, they can get attached to it. They might think that it's a good thing to be reborn in the Brahma realms after death. The Brahma realms are higher realms. This is why Ruparaga Saṃyojana and Aruparaga Saṃyojana are called higher fetters. They bind beings to the Brahma realms, which are higher realms. And also we have mana, or pride, 60 Akusala Sangaha Q. Can you please explain a bit about how Saṃyojanas are uprooted once a being becomes enlightened? Okay, let's look at the Suttanta method first. A Sotapanna, or stream enterer, has uprooted Ditthi Saṃyojana, Silabhata Parama Saṃyojana, and Vichikicha Saṃyojana. These three are uprooted. They no longer have false views or adherence to rites and ceremonies, right? As we already talked about, in the time of the Buddha, people would practice like a cow or a dog. But someone who gains enlightenment has come to understand that following the Noble Eightfold Path is the only way to enlightenment. For that reason, a Sotapanna will not adhere to rites and ceremonies. A once-returner cannot get rid of any Saṃyojanas. They can just weaken them. A non-returner gets rid of Kamaraga Saṃyojana, attachment to sensual pleasure. Also, a non-returner has no hatred at all. They still have Ruparaga, Aruparaga, Mana, and Avijja though. Only an Arahant can get rid of these. An Arahant doesn't have to reborn again because he gets rid of all Saṃyojanas. Remember, these Saṃyojanas bind beings to be reborn into the round of existence. When we get rid of these, we are free from the 31 planes of existence. Now let's look at the Abhidhamma method. It's a little different. One who gains the first stage of enlightenment uproots Ditthi Saṃyojana and Silabhata Parama Saṃyojana. There's also no Vichikicha Saṃyojana, Isahaya Saṃyojana, or Makarya Saṃyojana. In other words, there is no longer jealousy or stinginess once enlightenment is attained. If a person still has these qualities, he is not enlightened. We're talking about a person's disposition, right? We're talking about their nature. If they still have jealousy or stinginess, they're not a Sotapanna yet. A Sotapanna has no ditthi, no jealousy, no stinginess, and no doubt. He has eradicated 5 Saṃyojanas. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's first continue by examining further the 5 higher fetters. They are Ruparaga Saṃyojana, Aruparaga Saṃyojana, Mana Saṃyojana, Udaka Saṃyojana, and Avijja Saṃyojana. These 5 kinds of fetters are called higher fetters because they bind beings to the higher existences. To the Rupa and Arupa realms, 61 Las Vegas Sayadaw. According to the Abhidhamma method, the lower fetters include the following: Kamaraga Saṃyojana, Patiga Saṃyojana, Ditthi Saṃyojana, Silabhata Parama Saṃyojana, and Vichikicha Saṃyojana. That is, Lobha, Dosa, the 2 Ditthi, and Vichikicha are lower fetters. The remaining 5 by this reckoning, Bhavaraga Saṃyojana, Mana Saṃyojana, Isa Saṃyojana, Makcharya Saṃyojana, and Avijja Saṃyojana, are called higher fetters. Those who still have mana, pride, jealousy, stinginess, and ignorance are bound to the Brahma realms. Now let's look more closely at which kinds of fetters can be eradicated by noble ones. Someone who has practiced Vipassana meditation and gained the first stage of enlightenment is a stream enterer. What kind of Saṃyojanas has a stream enterer eradicated? Let's look at them one by one. For the Suttanta method, he has eradicated Ditthi, false view. See Labhata Parama Saṃyojana, and doubt. He has eradicated just these 3 fetters. For the Abhidhamma method, he has eradicated the same 3. A once-returner cannot uproot any fetters. We already talked about this, right? What about a non-returner? What kinds of fetters does he uproot? He has uprooted Kamaraga Saṃyojana, attachment to sensual pleasure, and Patiga, hatred, ill will, aversion. There is no anger for a non-returner. And, as I also shared a few minutes ago, Isa Saṃyojana is part of the Abhidhamma method, right? This is envy or jealousy. A person who has gained the first stage of enlightenment no longer has envy or jealousy. He eradicates this, as he does avarice, stinginess, or selfishness. There is no stinginess in a stream enterer. If someone says that they attain stream entry through their practice of insight meditation, but they still display jealousy or stinginess, They are wrong. No jealousy or selfishness will exist in a noble person. An arahant eradicates the remaining 5 Saṃyojanas. What are they? For the Sutanta method, we're talking about 5, right? They include Ruparaga Saṃyojana, Aruparaga Saṃyojana, Mana Saṃyojana, Udhaka Saṃyojana, and Avidya Saṃyojana. With respect to restlessness, we probably know what it's like to practice meditation and have our mind distracted and wandering all over the world, thinking about the past or worrying about the future. Only an arahant can eradicate this restlessness. This is why we try to train our 62